Howdy, my name's Vincent. Call me Vincent Gooberton, long line of Goobertons. Bit of a different video, I'm sure. I mean, for one, I have my voice in it, as opposed to me using Windows Movie Maker text. But this also isn't game progress either. And that's because life has decided that I would take a hiatus on the game. Not an indefinite one. I do plan on coming back to making the game. Apologize for my mic also. It's cheap and busted and not good. And I also apologize in advance for my voice. I've been told that it has a Mandark-like quality. So once again, I do apologize in advance for the both of those. But yeah, taking a bit of a hiatus on my game, but I also don't want to give up on my creative pursuits. So instead, I am working on a comic. I figure since, a comic is a bit less time-consuming as opposed to a game, that I would dip my toes into that. And I've always wanted to make a comic since I was a kid. I've never known what to write about, which kind of sucks. Because I had some of these ideas in my head when I was a kid, but absolutely no plot. Like when I was a kid, I had this idea about this post-apocalyptic world with like these eldritch abominations and stuff. At the time, I thought it was cool, but looking back on it, I was just making like Tumblr sexy for the sake of making Tumblr sexy. Eventually, I did manage to come up with an idea for a comic. Sorry about that long pause there. This is mostly unscripted. It's about this guy who gets into way too much trouble over jobs that should be simple on paper. It took me about 5 hours to draw this because I kept trying to fix it in places. After a while, I managed to come up with this idea. It wasn't this idea exactly, but I knew Kenjamin, which is the guy in the triangle shades. Kenjamin was going to be part of it somehow. When I was a kid, I originally wrote him up after having watched Scott Pilgrim a bunch of times. I was admittedly influenced by it to such a degree that even as a kid, I realized, no, this is just Scott Pilgrim. I put it on the back burner. Then I had a couple game ideas that would involve Mr. Kenjamin. Regarding him and his band that he doesn't have yet in his comic. But unfortunately, I don't have the musical know-how to make a good soundtrack for that game. So I put that on the back burner as well. A lot of games in the back burner. I do hope to come back to that one. Also, plot is a bit different. When I first came up with them, like I said, it was gonna be just be like Scott Pilgrim, and even as a kid, I realized, no, that's a bit unoriginal. So, like I said, I put the comic on the back burner for a bit, but I also wanted to make games. One of my first ideas was to make a fighting game full of sort of unrelated characters fighting a rich guy for his money. It's going to be Wall Street Rumble. That's the name of the game. That was the name of the game. But I had no idea how to work with Game Maker as a kid. I basically knew how to make simple platformers, and that was about it. So it ended up never being made. Plus, in hindsight, a bunch of unrelated people fighting a rich guy. I mean, everyone should do that, but doesn't really make for an interesting game. It's just Street Fighter 2. And then, back in 2023, I had another life thing. big life thing. For some reason, my head, was brought back to Kenjamin, Mr. Kenjamin and his story. And I wondered what I could do with that. And I remembered some of the characters that I had in mind for the Scott Pilgrim clone. And I decided to rework both the Wall Street Rumble idea and the comic idea to make another game called Great Golden Gig. Fortunately, like I said earlier, I don't have the musical know-how to make a game, or at least a game soundtrack, and I'm broke, so I can't really hire people to make music for me. So that ended up on the back burner as well. Like I said, I hope it doesn't stay on the back burner forever. I would like to come back to that and the other game that I'm making. And that was kind of the same story as Wall Street Rumble, but the difference being the rich guy was actually the antagonist for reasons that I won't elaborate in the event that I actually do make the game. But he's a rich guy, so obviously he's going to be the antagonist, right? After a while, after life decided to hit me harder than ever, the idea of the comic came through, and it became a story about this guy. Admittedly, he's kind of a loser, right? He's kind of revolved his personality around, fighting games and fighting movies that he's seen. Kind of emulates them to kind of mask a bunch of vulnerability, a bunch of deep-seated trauma. This guy, but he pretends to be a cool guy to kind of mask that. So instead, what he does is, instead of coping with that, he decides to just, fight people. Luckily, he has a job that puts him in a lot of trouble, so he has a lot of opportunity to fight people. Well, I say luckily, but that's probably not very healthy for him. When I made the comic, when I was coming up with the plot of the comic, I still wasn't too sure what to do. Like I said, but it turned out, like I said, I'm talking in circles. Apologize for that. To cut a long story short, it turned into this revenge quest for Mr. Kenjamin, right? Because he had a mentor that had wronged him, and he decided that he would become a gig worker, which in this world, gig workers are pretty high value. They do anything from regular grocery store runs to security. Basically, you can run the gambit. You're either doing Postmates or you're guarding the president. I don't know why you do that, but still. But unfortunately, he's pretty low rung. He's a 1-star. He's a 1-star gig worker because he just keeps getting into way too much trouble over jobs that should be simple, like I said, as was the premise. But it doesn't really matter to him because all he really wants is fighting experience and money, so that one day he can go back and find his mentor and get revenge on him for having wronged him. Now, I can't get into too much details about that because, I don't want to spoil my own story. After all, like, what would the point be if I spoil my own story? I have a lot of cat characters because I like cats. Nothing really too deep there. I just really like cats. They're sentient. The guy behind Kenjamin that's wielding the fist back, that's my friend's character, Eno. Really, he is a character from Keikuma's rap saga, and it involves him as this being of wrath. But by the end of that rap saga, he had mellowed out significantly and become somewhat of a more, I guess he'd be more of a more Piccolo-esque character, but he's, Kenjamin brings out the stupidest in him, as he tends to with everyone. So, Ino tends to really enjoy fighting Kenjamin. Also, the rest of the people in here are his family. Most of the people here, the cats, are part of his family. Everyone else is part of his family, except for Simmons, who is to his left. It's the guy with the one-eyed cat attacking him. And he's Kenjamin's friend from the start. Mr. Simmons helps Kenjamin with his gigs, try and keep him from just not getting any gigs. Like, he helps him from getting to 0 stars, which would mean that he can't, do gigs ever again, which would destroy his livelihood. The only livelihood he has, because he's barely scraping by, him being Kenjamin. I almost gave up on this piece, because at the time I thought that it looked bad, and I was about to throw it away. But after looking back at the footage, I realized I was pretty happy with it, and I almost replaced it with something much worse. I tried to redraw my cover art, and it ended up looking much worse than I remember, than I tried. So I decided I would scrap that instead, and give this one a real try. So this is the finished product, the finished picture, as you were. Not the best. I was a bit sloppy on the shading, admittedly. I haven't shaded a lot of things in a while. Probably practice that some more, but overall, I'm pretty satisfied with this art. If you liked what you saw, it's a bit presumptuous to do the YouTuber spiel, but if you liked what you saw, please like and subscribe, and I'll hope to post more of these, because Speedpaint is pretty fun. Also follow my socials, my Twitter and my Blue Sky, and my TikTok. I have a lot of those. So I was about to steal Moist Critical's whole thing, but that's all, folks. That's all, folks. Please leave.